Please give a warm welcome to Peter Hatch.
Well, nice, Phil, thank you very much for inviting me along. It's that I have brought some support with me just in case it gets a bit iffy. My good lady over there on the right hand side, my right hand side, is that I could actually introduce her as probably one of the first wags. Because Kaz and I go back a long way. Is that you know, and I don't want to bore anybody, but as I said, is that if I can introduce her as one of the first wags, she was at 17 my first girlfriend in Oxford, where I was an apprentice, and we went out together for a couple of years, and I'm talking about the 1960s. So, and unfortunately, we went our separate ways, but circumstances brought us back 7 years ago. 8 years. 8 years. I knew I brought her here for something. And just recently, we did what we said we should have done many years ago, is that we were married. So, as I say, apprentice, I don't know whether that would have sort of put us in the super bracket of having a wag at the time, but no, she was my my first girlfriend as regards my football career. But no, thank you very much, Phil, as I said, for inviting me along tonight. Is that I will shut up in a minute if people would like to ask a few questions. Is that I mean, obviously, is that I could relate back to my days when I was playing for the club. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't speak too much of the way things are at the present time because I think I don't understand it, to be perfectly honest. So I really don't. And I'm sure that there's a lot of disappointed people here at the moment that just sort of, they don't have to travel around the country to see him get 3 points. But there's plenty of time for change, I'm sure, and things will look better come the end of the season. But anyway, I am Peter Hatch. I joined Exeter City in 1973. I had a wonderful career here, and for me, as far as I'm concerned, it was a new lease of life as regards my footballing career. I was, as I said, an apprentice at Oxford United. I did go to Chelsea with Tommy Docherty as manager as a 14-year-old. Played at Stamford Bridge one Wednesday night. Is that my PE teacher took me to Stamford Bridge, and he was the salt of the earth, if you like, because I'd been invited up there for a trial. I don't know how I'd have got there if he hadn't have sort of said, "Come on, after school, we'll jump in the car and drive up to London." Well, London was only about half an hour's drive because I lived in a little village called Wargrave in Berkshire, which is on the A4, just the other side of Reading, so that gives you some idea of where I came from. I went up to Chelsea and I had a trial up there, and I thought I did all right, but about 3 weeks later, I had a letter saying, "Sorry, not up to the required standard." Well, as a 14-year-old, it sort of hurt, if you like, but the trouble was I was playing against seasoned teenagers, if you like, 18, 19-year-olds, and to sort of compete at Stamford Bridge on a wet, windy night, probably in the middle of November, I was quite pleased to be there and thought that I'd done actually better than they said, but obviously more senior guys there, bigger guys, stronger guys, and probably guys that showed more effort than a spindly 14-year-old. But as I said, that was basically my only other trial game outside of a couple of games for Oxford United. I did say early to one of your members is that the way I actually got into football, I always say, and I repeat it time and time again, is as a lad I was playing football for the opposition against my village side, and I always say there's one man and his dog. Well, the dog's a Labrador, but you never know who the guy is. And after the game is that chap walked up to me, tall 6-foot Irishman, black cap, big jacket, coat, trousers tucked into his boots, and his boots was halfway up his calves, and you know, a real Irishman. And I thought, yeah, okay, fine, thank you, I'll take the compliment. Well done, he said, and I never thought any more of it. And then on the Monday, is that we were off school at the time, half term, whatever, and I was out kicking about with the lads, all my mates from where I came from, off the estate. And this gentleman turned up again, and he just came over to me and he said, could I speak to your mum and dad? I said, yeah, of course. So he had a word with mum and dad, and the next thing, as I said, is I was off for a trial with Oxford United. Well, having been turned down at Chelsea, and not knowing what one was going to do when one left school, is football was a damn good idea at the time. And I still say to this day, it was probably the best decision I ever made to get into football. Well, it didn't matter whether it was the 4th division or the 1st division or whatever. It was a footballing career. But then I'll go to the other end of it. It's when I finished here at 32, I'd only been playing football for about 15, 16 years. And when you look at your lifespan, is, you know, we're knocking on to 70 years basically, and 15 years is like that. So it was a career that I thoroughly enjoyed, and if I had the chance, I would turn it all round again and have another crack at it. But as I said, this individual this individual came up, spoke to mum and dad. I went off to Oxford and had a trial, and that was the start of my footballing career. As I said, I left school, you know, as I don't know, a 15-year-old probably. Even left home at 15 because I had to go into digs. Even though Oxford is only about 25 miles away, it was like you know, on the bus it was 2 changes, on the train it was probably 3 changes. But the manager at the time was a gentleman called Mr. Arthur Turner, and apparently he used to be a big bruising centre half for Birmingham City in his day, and he sort of took me on board, and as I found out over the years is that I was the first basic. One of the first juniors there, if you like, is that apprentices. You know, they hadn't had apprentices before, but no, I would say that was really how I got into football. From there, then obviously is that I played at Oxford for 7 years, and I was seriously thinking about ending it come the end of one season, purely because I'd been there for that period of time. And I was playing regularly in the reserves. I played in the youth team, I played regularly in the reserves. And playing in the reserves, I must admit, is that I did travel around the country a little bit, but I got to play as a 17, 18-year-old in the reserves. I got to play at White Hart Lane, I got to play at Arsenal, I got to play at Ipswich, I got to play at West Ham, I got to play at all these clubs, bearing in mind it was only reserve team football, but it was the experience, if you like. And of course, I got to a period, as I said, a period in time when I thought, well, this doesn't seem to be going very far. I mean, it doesn't say in your book, does it? I came down from Oxford United, and I'm thinking about 7 years, I probably played about 20 games, or represented Oxford United first team in about 20 games. You know, experiences like that give me a great thrill, but they were few and far between. And as I said, in the end, it was one pre-season, and we had a gentleman called Mr. Fred Ford, and he was in charge of the reserves at Oxford. And he was a gentleman that's travelled around a little bit, and he was, I think he's well known at one of the Bristol clubs. I'm not sure at Bristol City or Bristol Rovers, but he was manager there for a spell, and we sort of went off to Wycombe Wanderers to play in a pre-season friendly. And he had a tie on, and I don't mean to swear, but on the tie it said TUFC. And I thought, oh, did me the world of good going down there on the coast, Torquay United. And I said to him, I said, Fred, that tie you got on there? He said, yeah. I said, what club's that? He said, Torquay United. I said, cool. Do with a move down there somewhere just to get first team football. and nothing came of it. And we sort of got into the season, and sort of the beginning of December came along, and would you believe is that Mr. Jerry Summers was the manager at Oxford at the time, and he said, "I've had somebody inquire about you. Would you like to go and have a talk to them?" I said, "Yes, please." So I came down and I spoke to John Newman, who was manager at the club at the time, and he said, you know, we're looking for a left back. I've had a few whispers, and said, "Would you like to come down?" I said, "Well, yeah, obviously, you know, if the money's right, but I'd rather play football than get money." You know, and the money is but I'm a professional, so I'm being paid for playing, and as I say, basically it was the way to playing first team football, irrespective of, as I've already said, of what league it was in, whether it was the first division, second division, third division, or fourth division. It was league football, and you. Unless you've been sort of, you know, one minute you're talking to, 1 minute, sorry, 1 minute you're playing in the reserves at the second division side as it was at the time. The next minute is you're coming down and you're talking to somebody and you're sort of looking at your future, if you like. Is what do I do? Do I go? Do I stay? And I'd made my mind up that I was going. And that's when I came down to Exeter City, and I thought, right, you know, just playing the cards right, and to me, it was a new lease of life for me. It was a new challenge, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it.
So you've come down to Exeter, you signed for this club. Did you go straight into the first team? Did
Yes.
you have to work your way through?
No, it's that the difference between the two clubs, if you like, at the time is, you know, at Oxford there was probably about 35 pros up there, senior pros, whereas Exeter you probably had, I don't know at the time, 17, 18 full-time pros. Is that no? And as I said, it was like a new lease of life for me. And the thing that sort of put the skip back into my leap, if you like, was the fact that my name on a Friday was on the team sheet. You know, in the dressing room, and no, as I say, it's you know, it'd been unfortunate that you know the club was where it was at the time, which was probably mid-table in the fourth division, but it was a challenge. It was a challenge, you know, and to think that somebody really trusts me to go out and perform for them. To perform week in and week out, because if I hadn't done it in the early days, then obviously I wouldn't have been playing in the later stages. But again, obviously, you know, things did change with managers. But to me, it was a new lease of life. Somebody showed me, somebody's believed in me. They, you know, purchased me. And at the time, I thought £8,000 was a lot of money. But there you go.
And from those early days, who do you recall as being standout teammates?
Well, I mean, at the time we had Fred Binnick, which I dare say most of you know, as a guy that could score goals out of nothing, basically. You had John Wingate, local lad. Well, Fred was fairly local, wasn't he? John Wingate was a local lad. Then in goal we had Bob Wilson. Jimmy Blaine was left back before I got here. Then you had Mike Bolson, Jimmy Giles, and then you had Campbell Crawford, right back before John Templeman came down. And then, you know, across the middle, as I said, Brian Joy. Brian Joy was in the side. As I said, John Wingate, Fred was up front. Tony Scott. Scotty, I made Ted McDougall, you know, with his crosses on the wing from Bournemouth. Who else was there?
Nicky Jennings.
No, Nicky came later on. Nicky came later on. Yeah, no, I just say it's.
Lemmy Robertson.
Lammy came later with John Templeman. Fred went to Brighton when Brian Clough and Peter Taylor they left Derby County, or it might have been Nottingham Forest actually, and they went down to Brighton. And they always fancied Fred Binney. And as the story goes, and Fred went to Brighton, and Lammy and John Templeman came back the other way. And, and then you had sort of John Templeman filled in at right back, and Lammy ruled the park from midfield. As, good player, strong voice, strong Scotsman. Oh.
You were a strong unit as a team in those days?
Oh, we were very strong as a team in those days. It's that we always said it's the players that were here, and bearing in mind, I just throw this one in, it's the same day as I signed for Exeter City, as Keith Baker signed on the same day. And he'd come down from Birmingham City, and I'm sure our paths would have crossed in the football combination that they used to run at the time. No, we had a strong side. We did have a strong side, and as I said, is that we always felt we knew the players that were coming in, whether they were made for Exeter City or whether they should move on pretty quick. And I think over a period of time we proved our strength with the, as I said, what was it, 1973? Well, 76, 77, or was it 77, 78? He said 3 years. It was 3 years then, if you like, to get a promotion.
Yeah.
As runners-up, unfortunately, to Cambridge United, who at the time was managed by Mr. Atkinson, who used to be club captain at Oxford when we used to do a bit of babysitting. Yeah. But no, it was lovely to get promoted. I always remember, I was just saying that I walked into the corridor out there, and you've got the old cow shed out there. And it was a little bit different then to what I remember, because that one out there, looking at it, is that you've got the barrier at the top there, then you've got people stood below the barrier. Well, I always remember it with the bank and the primroses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looked very smart at times out there. It really did. But I also remember it is, as I said, with the promotion, it's the Aldershot game, where I think the ground was bursting with about 10,500 supporters in there. And strangely enough, it's the referee said, I've got 2 minutes on my watch. As soon as I blow my whistle, just go. And that's what we did. Well, that's what I did anyway. I don't know about the rest. It's fond memories. But yes, we had a strong side. We could sort of look after ourselves. You have 1 or 2 players in the side that would they'd sort of stand up for you. But no, good mates. They really were.
Probably unlike today, where a lot of the players live away from Exeter. You were probably mostly locally based, I guess.
Yeah, well, again, I find it strange because when you're playing for a football club, at sort of this level, it surprises me that over the years, things have changed over the years. Because when I moved down to Exeter, is that I came down, family came down, found a property local to move into, and then you could associate like we are now. Is that you were part of the locality, if you like, and again, is your neighbour might have gone up and watched football and started talking over the garden fence with you, and you were part and parcel. But what I can't understand now is the fact, if it's the way it's done, it's the way it's done. Is that players come in and they go, they come in and train and they go. Why can't they stay in the locality? Why can't they live in the locality? Well, I've also heard the story is that because they don't get long contracts these days, that's the reason why they don't do it. But surely if you're good enough and you're loyal enough, is that you'll get a contract from season to season to season, which probably says, well, let's move into the area because you're there on the spot. And I say I find that a little bit disappointing. I've spoken to other lads about it, and they said, well, exactly the same. You can't understand it. Pre-motorways, I used to say is that we used to leave Exeter at 9:30 to have a meal at 12 o'clock at Bristol before we got onto the M5 and shot up, up north. then, you know, and again, if anything untoward happened to one of those individuals that we were supposed to pick up on the way through, it's what do you do for another player if you're short of staff for the next day?
I was going to ask you about travel in your playing days, because at the seniors party last week, last Thursday, I asked one of the players about their travel arrangements to go to Carlisle last Saturday, and it was this player lived in Bristol, so he'd be picked up in Bristol on the coach. They'd go up to, say, Lillishall, they'd break their bit of training, and then go on overnight to the hotel. Next morning, bit of time to themselves. If you were playing at Carlisle, when you were playing, how did you get there? Was it train? Was it coach? How long did it take to get there? Did you get back on that?
It took us a long time. No, it's, as I said, it's my first game. I signed midweek on the Wednesday, and I travelled back down probably on the Friday. No, I travelled back down on Thursday. No, sorry, I'm a bit confused here. But I signed that week, and our first game was Workington away. Could you find anywhere bleaker to make your debut? Is that, as I said, is that this was pre-M5 motorway, and we would leave here at 9:30 on a Friday morning to get to Bristol for 12 o'clock to have a midday meal, then continue our journey up the M5 as far as it went, and then to basically to Workington. And we've sat down and we've had an evening meal up there, a nice meal, and I said, right, come on, let's go, where are we going? So we'll go and find a pub, play darts against the locals. I thought, what? I said, because once upon a time we used to have a little blue book, which was your rule book. And as it's just been just recently stated, is that we weren't allowed to go out after a Wednesday night. We were allowed out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday if you weren't playing. Then after that is Thursday, Friday, with a game on Saturday, no going out. So here we are on a Friday night, and we've gone down to the local pub and we're playing darts against the locals. So, and I thought, well, this is a new world, this is different. So I thought, right, okay, fine. So anyway, we got into the dressing room for the game against Workington, and it was cold. It really was cold. And we had a change strip, I always remember, it was a blue and white stripe shirt. John Wingate, you know John Wingate? Yeah, 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
Right, so he puts his shirt on and puts his arms out like that, and the cuff was about there on his arm. So can you see me at the back? Yeah, you see all right? So he turned around and he said, BJ, Brian Joy, he said, pull my sleeve down, will you? So the cuff went from there to there, and he pulled the cuff off. So, and as I said, bear in mind, it was a cold day, and that's probably the first time the manager, the trainers, come round after the game and cut the laces on our boots, because our hands were so cold. And I thought, this is a bit different, isn't it? But no, it's that we travelled around. We travelled by coach. I don't ever recall travelling anywhere by anything else. I mean, when I was at Oxford, I did do Plymouth on a train once, but outside of that, everywhere was on the coach. And we used to have regular cigarette breaks of the motorway. It's probably forbidden now, but you know, there were a few smokers at the club. God rest his soul, Mr. Keller, Lee Roberts, myself, and we used to have a stop-offs on the way up the motorway. But I mean, believe me, he's leaving here at 9:30 for a meal at 12 o'clock in Bristol, and then travelling on afterwards. You're probably looking at what, 6 or 7 hours on a coach. Yeah. Which was a long way. It was a long way, and everybody was on board when we left.
Because there was something around in those times, I can't put a date on it, somebody will probably help me out here. There was something called the League Liner, wasn't there, which was a train that supporters could travel on. And that wasn't anything I know City did use it once, I think. Yeah. Does it go to Peterborough, I believe? Yeah. But I can't put a date on it, that wasn't in your era then.
No, because again, I think isn't there a photo with Banksy down the station?
Yes.
Down St David's, yeah. Well, I can only assume that that's what that was all about, but no, we travelled
by coach.
By coach, yes.
Back from Bob.
Yeah, that was 60.
That's coming back from Bob.
Was it?
It was the new neutral that they needed to bring promotion.
All right. Yeah. Was it?
They used to go by train in those days. So.
Yeah. Well, they were lucky then.
They did too, yeah.
It's travelling all around the country by coach is it was a long way. It was a long way, and again, unfortunately, it seems as though the four corners of the UK is where you play. I mean, on the other side is that you've got Darlington and Hartlepool. Well, just occasionally we used to do that as like a 4-dayer. So we travel up one day, play in the night, stop over for the other game on the Saturday. We did that a couple of times with Darlington and Hartlepool, but again, it's as I said, when you look at it, it's your fixtures are all up there. It's but no, those were the days.
Workington must have been one of the worst grounds to visit. What was one of the best grounds you'd go to in those days?
Well, surprisingly, it's at the time you had the likes of. We played Sheffield Wednesday. I'm not sure that would have been in the old third division. It's.
But even know the games here.
Yeah, I remember because the return game down here is that I think we beat them 1-0, and they wreaked havoc on the pitch. So they've got to put in the goalpost down, I believe. Happened on that day, but no, Sheffield Wednesday, Huddersfield, one or two clubs that obviously their standard, if you like, or what they had ground-wise was a lot better than what we had, and you just thought, well, why is it that we're in the same league? But that's all to do with obviously out on the pitch. But no, it's. They always say Cumbrian turf is good, and it's not bad at all. It really isn't, but the facilities were dreadful. They really were. They used to, where was it, Chester? Before they upgraded the sort of dressing rooms, there was a hole in the wall where you had to climb through the hole in the wall to get into the bath. It's Crew Alexander. If you can see the table at the front, we'll say that's the shape of the where the bath was, but the trouble is that sort of half or a third of it was covered by the hot water tank, so you couldn't get under it. But it's surprising. You talk about dressing rooms. I really haven't been over the road for a long time. So.
You recognise that?
Nothing's changed.
And again, if I'm talking about other clubs, I just feel sometimes for the players, if it's been wet and windy and it's cold out there, what's it like when they go back into the dressing room? Because no, I still believe it's very much the same as it was back in my day, and I'm talking about a long time now. Well, as I said, first and foremost is signing for the club was a big day for me, and like I said, all I wanted was a manager to believe in me, if you like. I mean, I back my ability, not a problem, but it's just having somebody that thinks the same way as I do, if you like, as regards my ability, what I can do, how I can help the club, how I can help on the pitch. But yes, it's that when you look at the sort of the successes that we had, again, they were few and far between, but as you said, it is probably my swan song, my finest hour was the replay with Newcastle. Again, as everybody says, did you practice the corner in the morning? Of course we practiced the corner in the morning, but could I hit it any sweeter into that top corner? Not really, no, but we practiced it in the morning. No, I was highly delighted. It's the fact that yes, is that the corner got knocked in, the keeper went to punch it. Whether it was halfway over the line or not, I really don't know. But his assistants had finished up in the top corner, and that really is I think was way beyond belief of many people that were out there watching, that we could actually do what we did on the day. But that started the ball rolling, as they say. And then the second one I remember was a free kick into the box, into the Newcastle area is that I don't know who it was, but one of their lads went down, and he went down on the edge of the box, just up between the penalty box, between the penalty spot and the 18-yard box. And we've got the ball back, and I sort of filtered out to the left wing, and I thought, well, as long as I don't go past him, I'm onside. So the ball got played out. I was onside, so I managed to cut in, pulled it back. No, that's the third one. Sorry, I'm already gone too far. It's, no, the second one, well, obviously was when we throw in, and I'm struggling now with my shoulders. Is that I do suffer with rheumatoid arthritis now, and I think that's got a lot to do with it. But the throw in, yeah. I've already done the third one, so we'll forget that. Cut corners. No, the throw in is well, again, strangely enough, it all stems back to school football. There was a lad at school, played in the school team, and he could throw the ball. Well, and I mean, at that time, we were only sort of 13, 14-year-olds, and he could throw the ball a blooming mile. And I thought, well, if he could do it, I can do it. So I tried it, and found I got a little bit of success with it. And obviously, that was besides my left leg, that was that was something else to have a crack at the opposition with. So, as I said, it's throwing down the right-hand side. One gets called across from the left side to the right side, throw it into the box, and again, as they say, don't let the ball bounce. As a defender, attack the ball, don't let it bounce, no, let it bounce. And the next thing is it's coming up around about shoulder height with Ian Pearson, and he just said, thank you very much, pick that one out. So that was goal number 2. As I've explained, goal number 3 already. Yes. Is that, and I just sort of, as I said, is that as long as I stayed on side, the guys laid down in the box. Well, there's a lot of people kick the ball out these days, a lot of people carry on. It is that, and in my mind, it was just a case of, well, if he's seriously injured, the referee's going to blow his whistle. And we played on, and we scored and made it 3. And was it Pete Rogers, wasn't it? Sofa.
Yeah.
It might not say it now. It might say it now, I'm not sure. Yeah. So hence that was 3-0, and as I said, and I've said many a time, is that unfortunately, from my point of view, I didn't have anything to do with the 4th one. I just stood back and watched. And Dodge, Martin Rogers scored the 4th one. Yeah.
What it actually says in here, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to quote from it, but I'm sure I can really. It says that Newcastle made their 360-mile return journey to Devon full of confidence. But as the drama unfolded, Peter Hatch emerged as the seasoned artist intent on stealing the scene. I can barely read your writing. I'd like thanks for explaining that. I'd like to actually take you back a step, because you seen off Leicester in the round before.
Yeah.
So to get a tie away at the other St James Park, we drawn against Newcastle. That must have been the equivalent of the City players getting Manchester United 11 or so years ago. That was a big tie to get, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was you thinking going up to St James? We've got a chance. How do we play it?
Well, again, is that I mean, obviously, truth be known, is that there was a nightclub in the hotel that we stayed in. So a couple of Newcastle beers, make sure we have a good night's sleep. What's the problem? I mean, if we got it tanked, then that wouldn't have come out, but we didn't get tanked. No, it's right. Leading up to Newcastle, would you believe is that I felt sorry for the Dave Puller was the hero at Leicester. He scored the equaliser, which took us to the extra game with Leicester City. And unfortunately, in the previous game, before Newcastle United, we played at Burnley, and Dave got injured. His people actually come from the northeast, so he was very disappointed. Is that he travelled up to Newcastle with us, but he couldn't play because he'd been injured in the league game before. I don't know. Is that in that season? We played Leatherhead at home, we played Millwall away, we played Maidstone away, we played Leicester away, and then we've been drawn away against Newcastle. So realistically, I suppose when you think about it's a one-off, you're just going to go up and you're going to do the best that you can on the day, and if the best isn't good enough, then you come away with your tail between your legs. But the day was good enough, or the days were good enough. Maidstone, I don't know whether it says in there, but the other book, Maidstone was a sticky place for City. A couple of times, I'm not sure whether we went up there 2 or 3 times, but the previous times that we've been up there, we've not got a result. But we went up there and we beat them on the day, which obviously, you know, you think, well, we've been here before and we haven't got a result, but we've got a result here on the day. Then we've been drawn away to Leicester, and you think, okay, so we've been drawn away again. It's a side that's, and they were a league above us at the time. Is that
First division.
they were first division? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
I'm thinking, yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, they were first division. That's right. Yeah, because I think Mr. Lineker just joined the club, wasn't he? I think he was playing for him at the time. But it's that you think, well, you know, we got the results away from home. It is a one-off. It's a little bit different from your league game because you win or lose, albeit we got a draw. Is that so we've sort of come back here and we've turned them over on the park, and then and again is what happens next draw? Oh, Newcastle United versus Exeter City. Oh, all right. So the first one, which one would regard as the easiest one because it's you always say it's a little bit easier because you're at home, but they never turns out like that. But it's we've had success from 2 previous away games, 3 previous away games, and then here we come again. It's against another away game. Well, you know, it was. I mean, at the time, and I've got a picture in my hallway, is that St Valentine's Day Massacre was the day of the first game, and again, it's I always said this to John Delve. I said to Delvius, just prior to the whistle being blown, the first whistle being blown, is that Delvey probably stood from me to the wall away, and I couldn't get him to turn around and listen to me. Because it was building and building and building for the kickoff, and all of the heads on the back of my neck stood up. I was like, "Oh my God, what are we doing here?" But it's that we got into the game, and we sort of got to. I'm not sure how the scoring went for this one, but it's that we probably coming into the last 10 minutes and we're 1-0 down. And then again, I have a feeling that it stemmed from a throw-in, not directly from a throw-in, but we sort of worked the ball into the box, and Lee Roberts got his toe onto the end of it, and well, hey, we've equalised. And then you're just thinking, well, if we can hold this now for a few minutes, we've got another game at home. Of which, yes, we managed to keep it evens, and we got them back to St James's Park, Exeter.
So what was the atmosphere like coming back on the coach that day?
Oh, well, it's absolutely
Need
brilliant.
I ask?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Is that I suppose realistically is that you always go out there hoping that you're going to get a result, and to actually get a result when the odds are stacked against you, if you like, it's like they say, is that if you've got a good crowd there, it makes the 12th man on the park. Well, I mean, you just have to look. I mean, they're in the championship at the moment, and probably their home games, they've got 50,000 people there. So they are fanatical, very true supporters, fanatical. And you just sort of wish, well, wish I was playing in front of a crowd like that on a weekly basis or a fortnightly basis, yeah. But it's that, as I said, is that we got a result. Yeah, it was a good trip back. It was a long trip, but it was a good trip back. And you start looking forward to the replay.
Does anybody here make the trip up? Anybody go up? So, what is it?
Very intimidating atmosphere.
2 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any memories you want to chip in? Anybody?
But I was walking back to the station when I got friend. It was intimidating. We walked down the high street, and it was silence. You had policemen either side of you, and it was silent. All you could hear your footsteps in the high street. very intimidating atmosphere. I'm glad to get back to the station.
Yeah.
When we walked from the train to the station and walked through the police, I was talking to the policeman. I said, you know, what are all these police here for? I said, yeah, we're just an Exeter, as you do. Well, of course you do. He said, oh no, we're not here to, you know, keep you from causing any trouble. We're here to keep them from you. And you look up, there's all these Geordie. That was a bit intimidating.
I remember that bit that you said just before the kick-off.
Yeah.
The noise.
Yes,
it was
it just built and built and built, and again, it is obviously is as you two guys have just said, is that we did sort of hear stories where how you were sort of escorted from the ground to the station. But no, again, it's sad to hear stories like that. But at the end of the day, I suppose it shows how they support their club. How how worked up they get. I suppose from a player's point of view, it's just listening to it and then sort of listening to the stories afterwards. You sort of think, well, they don't deserve that. They don't deserve that. But it just shows how they feel or what they feel about their football team or their team losing, drawing, whatever. But no, I think it all come right on the Wednesday, didn't it?
It's a double-edged sword for them as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Because they got so much pressure on them when it doesn't work for them.
Yes.
And then they turn on themselves.
Yeah.
So,
It's it's up to them to do the business on the night, isn't it? It's because again, it's like I said, you wouldn't have thought for 1 minute that a team from the 3rd division at the time would go and play. They were a 2nd division side at the time, but they still had names. Chris Waddle was playing for them at the time, wasn't he? And one or two others. But no, I just say it was a great day for us to have got the result up there and come back up. I mean, not only for the players, the staff, the supporters, but for the city as well, and for the league. Because I mean, if we could do that, then other clubs could do it. And again, as I always said about Bradford City, maybe not in the last 3 or 4 seasons, but a couple of seasons, 2 possibly 3 seasons running, they were sort of Division 1, and they were sort of knocking on the door of Wembley in finals. So if they can do it, then other clubs just believe themselves, and they'll go along and do it. And again, as I think a couple of seasons later, didn't the Green Army get to 5th round, 6th round, whatever it was? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. From the same league at the time.
So after Newcastle, the next stop was what in the cup? White Hart Lane.
Yes, yeah, we went off to White Hart Lane, and again it was a little bit of an anticlimax because they were refurbishing part of the ground at the time, and our dressing room was a porter cabin. So there was a bit of a letdown because having been up there, as I said earlier, is that when I played in the combination side reserves at Oxford, is I played most of the London clubs and Spurs was one of them. And when you come up the steps like that out onto the pitch, that's a proper pitch. That's a proper pitch. But when you're in a porter cabin, and you come through and you're on the same level basically, it's not quite the same. It's not quite the same. But no, I think we gave a good account of ourselves on the day. It's just unfortunate that 2 free kicks or a free kick in a corner cost us goals on the day.
Penalty in the first minute.
Well, we should have done, but again, it's one of those things as a player you think, well, when the referee's walking around and said, Steve, all right? Yeah. Oh, afternoon, ref. Oh, afternoon. I mean, and again, it wasn't just that game. Do you remember, you'll remember, we played Wolves out here in an FA Cup. Willie Carr scored from a free kick to equalise. And we went up to Wolves and midweek to play the replay, and I can't remember what the score was, but Jack Taylor won. Was it 5-1? Was it?
Was it during the,
Just right under the
was it,
two.
was it during the strike, Pete? There was a major strike, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Power or something.
It's-
It was a power strike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was played in the afternoon.
Yeah, because Jack Taylor was the referee, and again we came across the same thing up there. It was always, you know, with the Wolves players, it was first names, and who are you? Basically, you know, I mean, we're just the opposition. We're here to, you know, but by all accounts, is that word came back to us, and this apparently was via Glenn Hoddle, is that Mr. Birkinshaw had a right going at half time because we were still in the game. It was 0-0 at half time. And then, unfortunately, Ian Pearson got injured and sort of threw the momentum for a little bit. No, I think we gave a good account of ourselves, and as the gent said, is that if we'd have had what we thought was a bona fide penalty in the first couple of minutes, then that might have been a different story again.
Peter, I remember taking my father to that game.
Yeah.
The City fans were behind one goal. We were lucky enough to be in the seats at the top half, but all the City supporters who were standing behind that goal were got extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people were fearing that there was going to be some fatalities because they were crushed in so much.
Uh-huh.
I can remember seeing it now. The kids were being handed back. They were proud of that, but it's quite frightening there.
Yeah, I mean, so, well, there's something that I didn't know, and
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and again, obviously, is I mean, if, you know, possibly, well, God willing that we did get a penalty then, is that because it could have turned worse for the, you know, for the supporters there, but is that just on the day, is that, I mean, Pete Rogers went down in the box, basically barely 2 minutes on the clock, if you like, and we thought we had a bona fide penalty, but you know, it wasn't given. But and as I said, is that maybe that might have made a difference to the end result. But well, I think, you know, as sort of travelling to Newcastle, travelling to Leicester, going to Spurs, is you know, it's the places that you dream of playing. And we were able to go up there as a team and give the opposition a game. And I feel it's a damn good game.
Does Mr. Perryman ever talk about the match and
Mike, I don't see. If I see him, I say hello. But I know that as a youngster at Oxford in the FA Youth Cup, he was in the opposing side when Oxford United youth team went up to Spurs youth team and we turned them over on the night. So, yeah.
I was just going to. The gentleman in the middle there talked about the crowd and, you know, how packed it was behind the goal. I always tell the story because I was a smoker and I had a Velcro cagoule flap, and at half time I got one hand up, ripped it open, got a fag out and lit it, and there were all the people around me were going, blow it this way, will you, blow it this way? And nobody, you couldn't get your hands up. It was that, we were that crushed in. It was incredibly packed in that
It was dangerous.
It was dangerous.
And then a question to finish off with, Peter. Okay. The observation, going back to this book again, and it says, whether in the heart of the defence or in midfield, Peter Hatch was always creative. A real football artist, he possessed anticipation and timing to a high degree and was a big help to all around him. Now, you scored quite a few goals for City as well, didn't you? It says in here you scored 23, so
Yeah, that was over about 7 seasons.
Yeah, the observation I'd like to make is that when I mentioned to, I think at least 3 different people, that you were coming to speak to us tonight, all 3 had the same observation to make, and I'm sure people in this room would agree. And that is that they were surprised you didn't get the opportunity to play at a higher level.
I can only say is that I managed to keep my temper, and I think maybe that let me down. If I'd have been, I just feel as though if I'd have been a little bit more aggressive, then maybe I might have gone elsewhere. There were rumours there were rumours over the seasons, but obviously nothing came of them, and it really didn't matter because I enjoyed myself here.
I was just going to say, the main thing is you enjoyed your time at this
Oh,
club.
most definitely.
You've still got an affiliation to this
Yeah,
club, because
yeah.
I've seen you here at the
Yeah.
games.
Is
Affiliation to the area.
yeah.
You should go to the supermarket with it.
It's,
People don't stop coming up to him and talking to him.
it's no, I've made a lot of good friends, and I've always said is that the West Country, Devon, Cornwall, really is a lovely part of the country to be. And now we have the time to sort of enjoy life, if you like, both retired. But no, it's I've always said I'd like to, if I went anywhere, I wouldn't go back that way. I'd go further down the line. Is that and definitely stay in the West Country. I mean, it's well, I say GWR or GWW, God's wonderful world. It's always been a pleasure. It was a pleasure to come down and play football for Exeter City. It's a pleasure to do things like this. Is that gone but not forgotten, and that's a nice feeling. Thank you very much.